How do you decide the right rent to charge for your rental property? Hi, I'm Veronica Woods, and if you want to learn how to keep more money in your pocket, whether you're buying or selling real estate, you've come to the right channel. I like to produce content that's all about how to stay in front of that retirement 8 ball, as well as learning how to use real estate to make your 9-to-5 job optional. In this video, I'll be sharing some best practices about how to decide what rate you should charge for your rental properties and how to keep on top of what we call the market rate, which is not the rate that you want to charge, but the rate that tenants will be willing and able to buy or willing and able to sign a lease for in your area. As a landlord, you really should not only just keep an eye on the home values, but you should also look at how the rental rates evolve over time. Now, as a property manager and realtor in the Philadelphia area, I would say there's not huge spikes in the rental rates typically as you would see in the home valuations, but it's really important as you're managing your wealth and your cash flow that you keep an eye on the rental rates too. Here are 5 basic steps that you should follow if you're re-examining the rent rate that you'll charge. Number 1, make sure you're defining your market area appropriately. In the Philadelphia area, you can't look at just the zip code. The zip code is usually too broad. You're going to want to define a few blocks and make sure the construction is similar. In the Philadelphia area, I looked at the stat before doing this video, and they said that roughly 63% of the homes or rental units are between $1,000 and $2,000 per month. That's a huge range, and there's a lot of variation within the zip code and within pockets of defined neighborhoods. So it's really important that you're comparing apples to apples in terms of a geographic area. Number 2 is to get clear on the likely tenant to rent your apartment. What does their profile look like? Is it most likely going to be a student? Is it going to be a family with small children? Are you likely to get a single person? These are all things that kind of factor in their ability to pay, as well as are you open to accepting tenants that may be part of a local program? Let's say a program that based on your income, they may help you with your move-in fees, or there may be a monthly voucher to offset the rent that you want to charge. Often these programs base their acceptable rent against tables that HUD sets down in DC. And you'll want to understand what the maximum rent based on the size of your unit they will pay in your particular zip code. Number 3 is you want to look at the comps. And when I mean comps, I mean the closed transactions, so leases that were signed, as well as active listings. So these are where landlords are right now trying to find tenants for the units. If we start at the closed transactions or signed leases, a great resource that I use is called Rent-O-Meter. They actually have both a free and a paid version. And what that site allows you to do is to drop in the address and allow you to search within a defined geography, from 0.1 miles to 3 to 5 miles around that pinpoint. And it'll show you not only the average rent, but kind of the range between the low and the highs. And it will show you the dates that those leases were signed. So that's really a good source of information. On the active listings, now of course, just because somebody's asking to get $1,500 a month, that doesn't mean at the end of the day that they will actually find the tenant that is paying, or the tenant that moves in will actually have paid that $1,500 a month. But it's great information to see what other landlords, the pricing strategies that they're using. Also, when you're looking at active listings, you can see more about the amenities, and usually there's more photos available. And it's really important not only to compare the location in your rental, or the comp against your rental by the geography. You also have to look at what's the condition of the property, what are the amenities, what's included, and that really will allow you again to compare realistically about what you can possibly get for your apartment. Number 4 is ask the market. When you start promoting your rental property to the public, you'll get great feedback, and as I always say, the market will speak. So this is something, the market speaks not only with sales but often with rentals as well. So if you put your rental out there, let's say $1,500, again, that magical number, just making up, and you're getting either few bites or everybody that's walking through there is complaining about, wow, this is high, this just seems too high. They're comparing your place against the apartment that they just looked at 30 minutes ago, and they're coming back with the verdict that you have not really quite hit the market. Another way of giving feedback is maybe the people that like your apartment love it, but they can't afford it. So this goes back to understanding your target tenant profile. So if everybody who's willing to pay X for the $1,500 to live in your neighborhood can't afford it, then you also may want to adjust the rent down to something that is a match with the ability to pay and the willingness to pay. One thing to keep in mind is sometimes people want to hold off or kind of just wait and see with testing rent rates, but big scheme of things, if you're trying to hold on for $100 more, and it takes you 3 months to find that magical tenant that's willing to pay $100 over what the apparent market price is, you're losing out on 3 months rent. It would be a lot cheaper to drop the price $100, get that tenant in there more quickly, and be able to capture more months of rent within that year. Number 5 is to talk to professional property managers, since they are actively promoting rental listings in your area day in, day out. They just have more data points to go on, so that you are potentially starting off strong when you're testing the market with your rental rate. They can also give you perspective of what amenities, or comparing your apartment to what's standard in the area, to give you good feedback about maybe an adjustment or an improvement that you'll want to make before putting your home on the market. One good thing that kind of ticks up the rental rate is having a inside washer and dryer, especially if it's an apartment within the unit. So that's one feature that I've seen that really allows landlords to keep or push the value of a rental here in Philadelphia. Before I wrap up, I want to cover one more mistake that I see a lot of small landlords make that hurt them not only on a monthly basis with their cash flow, but also when it's time for them to sell. Rent, as I mentioned, is something that you should be keeping the pulse on as you're owning the property. It's not something that you can just set it and forget it. And I hear many anecdotes, especially when I sit down with people ready to sell their property, that they kept the rent low and the same because they quote unquote had a good tenant. The problem with not adjusting the rent, even if you have a good tenant, is that you have to make sure your rent keeps up with the ongoing cost of managing the property. If you get kind of behind, if the rent kind of trails what it really needs to be in order to keep up with the maintenance, you hurt the value of the property. Not to mention, if you have a way below market rent and you're trying to sell it, that tenant is not going to be attractive to the new owner. If you want more insight on what it takes to be successful with managing your own rental properties, you'll want to stay tuned to the video that is appearing on the screen now. Again, thanks for watching and supporting the Real Estate Wisdom channel here on YouTube. If you have any comments for me, any questions, please leave them below the video. I promise I will get back to respond and give you my best answer. And as always, happy investing.